Everybody give me a clap. 2, 3, 4. Okay, pretty funky, right? Okay, so here's a beginning, all right? Now what? Sadly, here comes the hard part. I'm going to just note a couple things about this. The first question you need to ask yourself when you get an idea down, stand here, is what do you have? What's the character of your piece that you've written? Because your job, once you get a kernel of an idea, is to grow the kernel, not write another piece in the midst of the one you just started. That's a big mistake people make. They don't use what they created to build the piece out. And everything you have can be contained in the DNA of that very first little fragment that you have. There's a lot of ways to da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. The whole damn movement is based on that one thing, right? Pretty amazing, because that is not much of a theme. It's really not much of a motif, but Beethoven was the master at working with small bits of information and expanding them into colossal works. So I'm going to note a couple things about this bass line. Tell me your name again?
Neil.
Neil. It's very active, okay? So there's a lot going on in this. It's pretty dense. That's one thing to note about it. It's also very simple harmonically. It's in D minor, basically, or D, 7 sharp 9. It's in 4/4, so we're talking about a piece of music that's potentially danceable and kind of in that funk vein, especially when he says something like palm mute. You know that you're kind of in that zone with the guitarist, and I can imagine a cello playing this. So it's more of a guitar line to a cello than a cello line to me, which is interesting, but that's fine. You can make this work on cello. All right, so I'm going to give you a little quiz here.
Okay.
You heard this?
Yeah.
What do you hear going with it? Where is this going? Or is there anything that you've considered so far?
I didn't think that far.
Okay.
I just thought on a cello.
Okay. So then your job is to ask yourself what this piece wants to be. Now granted, with only 2 bars, if we had like a week to work on this, I would have had you write a 4 or 6 or an 8 bar phrase. But with only 2 bars, maybe you still don't really know yet. But let's just play act this a little bit. When you hear this, where do you see it going? Do you hear a melody over it?
No, I just didn't think that far.
But do you want a melody over it?
Sure.
Okay, so this is interesting to me because I could never get this far and not know what I wanted out of it. So this is just something to note, that this is part of the process. Really common that you'll come up with something like, what do I want to do with it? And that is something that I think we want to continue to address throughout the clinic. So for me, it's incredibly obvious what this piece is. This is a groove. And you're going to write a short melody over it, and you're going to create a dance piece. I mean, how could it be anything else? What else are you going to do with this? I mean, you could write a string quartet based on this little motif, but when I just played it, that's what I heard. Come on. Who are you fooling? This is not necessarily the beginning of a romantic concerto. And that's great. You did it. So, all right. So then let's just assume I'm right, because I'm not telling you that because I think it's the only way to go, but I'm saying it suggests that.
Sounds good.
Okay. So then I'm going to just kind of throw out some generalizations here, because I think to demystify composing, generalizations can be very helpful. If we look at you always have to base everything on our models. Our models for good groove tunes have an A section and a B section, and that's about it. Okay? Sometimes there's a bridge, that's fine. but not always. The greatest James Brown songs, the greatest meter songs are two parts, and that is all. Now, if you want to get into a more fusion territory and you want to have like a bridge, that's great. But to keep things simple, really think of it that way. And remember, that's all you need. So if you're going to put a melody over this, kind of what I would like to do, is there I like it. That's a good cello group. You know, now I'm rethinking what I was saying. I think it's good, really equally good for cello and guitar. Okay. I would like somebody to raise their hand and tell me what they hear over this. Is there anybody that hears something?
Fat horn line.
Did you say a fat horn line?
Fat horn line, yeah.
Well, I think I know what you mean. What's fat mean to
I
you?
just like loud and like stacked harmonies and just like in your face.
Yes! Yes, that's what I'm hearing. Okay. How do you access the melody if you're this guy? Do you hear a melody? You might not. Okay, I do. I hear 10 melodies, okay? And so, but I bet some of you hear melodies too. So, but let's not get too far. It's still your piece. What's the character of it? Is it fat? It is fat.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is really interesting that somebody else told him what his piece was about. I analyzed that, but he's right, and he's telling you. And so, why do we not know what we've created? This is really an interesting thing that happens to us. Like we come up with something, and we almost. How can we activate the part of our brains that make those connections? That's a question, and I do not have the answer. Okay, so just think about it. But you agree, that's great. And I think it's incredibly obvious from hearing this as the first, but not the only possibility. Okay, so could anybody sing a melody over this? We got any people? Good, Camille, come up here.
Yeah.
You're gonna be a brave one. So, give us an idea of what you're hearing. See, I really believe that when we're writing melodies, we want to sing them, okay? So it's inside, it's going to more quickly come to your voice, more quickly come to your voice than it is to your instrument in a lot of occasions, all right? So, like, let's say I wrote that. Ideally, what I do is I loop it on a looper or on a tape recorder where I can record on top of it, maybe in GarageBand or something with a metronome, and then I just sing something off the top of my head, and I do it like 10 times, and I'd see what I came up with. Because I want to get that primal part of me moving before I analyze and think about what I want. Because, that's where music comes from, okay? All right, let's get the groove going. Now, real soft, give them just a 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, Nice. Do that again. One more time. Oh man, we got a piece of music already. Right, okay. Now do that and go back. We'll do that 4 times and go back to your line. 3, 4. Right, so it makes that line you know, when you come back to it, it's like, okay, we're back to the more dense line. That's going to be a hard line, by the way, to blow over. So when you go to the solo sections, just a thought, you're probably going to want to simplify that. Because a soloist isn't going to want to hear all that the whole time in back of them. So what you do is you just take the most important parts of it. So you know, the good job, you just take parts of it and leave out other parts. It's just one quick suggestion.
Which part?
When people are soloing.
Got it.
Yeah, because this is a thing you'd solo over. And for Camille's idea, so I'm kind of thinking that because we simplified the rhythm on the 4 chord, you know, we might have a little more activity in the melody, just as contrast. It's all about contrast, you know, and a little bit of surprise, but never straying too far from home base. So play me the bridge. So. No, just what you did before. Right, something like that. And 1. Da 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 da. Man, come on, somebody even go make $1 million with this tune. Oh, sorry, you can't do that anymore. Make $100.